IVM.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
Homi Mistry was arrested. Homi Mistry, a journalist and editor, was arrested in Bombay in 1952 and brought to Lucknow, where he was detained for a night in a hotel because of an arrest warrant issued by the Speaker of the UP Legislative Assembly. What? When did legislators start issuing arrest warrants? Hello and welcome to The Longest Constitution. My name is Priya Mirza, and every week we look into how the Constitution shapes our lives and all sorts of people, from members of parliament to domestic workers. And we are looking at work specifically and all sorts of work. And everybody works, from the president of this country to sex workers, from CEOs to housewives, and of course, CEOs who are housewives. Housewives, homemaker. Call it whatever, the work, the quantum, and the scale remains unchanged. The question really, though, is what is the definition of a worker? What sort of work is recognized and what isn't? What sort of work is remunerated and what isn't? What do your fundamental rights really guarantee you and what do they not guarantee you? And what is the playoff if your work is an exercise of your fundamental right, like the freedom of expression? So, one person, at least, discovered the heavy costs of publishing an article about the Speaker of a legislative assembly. And that's Homi Mistry. Mistry was the editor of a Bombay-based magazine, Blitz, and as tabloids tend to do, published a rather unflattering article about the Speaker. And these legislators found it deeply offensive. Incidentally, though, while they didn't think twice about being indignant about a journalist writing about them, what are the qualifications to be an MP or an MLA? So the question is, what does it take to be a parliamentarian? And the answer is very little. Here are the qualifications to be an MP. So, according to Article 84 of our Constitution, one must be a citizen of India and to be 25 years of age in the case of the Lok Sabha or 30 years in the case of the Rajya Sabha. That's about it, people. No degrees, no diplomas, no language requirements, or a million followers on Instagram, although that may help. So, people, prime people, you don't need to fudge your BA degree because a BA degree ain't required. The point to remember is a democracy is not just about elections, but about public offices being open to being contested by everybody. And this is important, not just useless information, which takes us to the man we met in the previous episode. And that is PV Narasimha Rao, the Prime Minister, whose government survived from 1991 to 1996 because of the no confidence motion. It survived by giving bribes. And not only did it complete its 5-year term, the bribe takers were given off because of parliamentary immunities. But PV Narasimha Rao, amongst other things, was also instrumental in pushing Panchayati Raj, which is local government. So, a major Gandhian element of our constitution is the Panchayati Raj, government and representation at the village level, something which Gandhi was very keen on. 5 decades after our constitution was drafted, PV Narasimha Rao executed that Gandhian vision under Article 40 into action with the 73rd Amendment, which for the first time provided constitutional status to Panchayati Raj institutions, making the creation of rural and urban bodies mandatory. So, panchayats at the village level, nagar panchayats at the intermediate, municipal councils for small urban areas, and municipal corporations for larger urban areas, and thereby granted representation to millions of Indians. And more importantly, provided for reservations for women, scheduled castes, and scheduled tribes. Wow! But anything so wonderful, one has to be a little suspicious, isn't it? So, our third story today is about Anita Suresh, a woman who worked for the Employees State Insurance Corporation. And Anita's colleague made sexual advances towards her and sexually inappropriated remarks. Now, we remember the POSH Act, don't we? The sexual harassment of women at the workplace Act 2013, under which the worker is defined as an aggrieved woman. But yet, when the POSH was being drafted, there were concerns that women would make false claims. And as a consequence, Section 14 of the Act makes it clear that if there's a false or malicious complaint, the aggrieved woman can be penalized. And this section was inserted amidst much concern that women are prone to misuse right based legislations. Right. And what about the fact that men are prone to being sexual predators? What about that? Now, this actually went against the spirit of the Vishakha judgment that had held that no action should be taken against the complainant, even if the complaint is not upheld, so that women could feel secure in making a complaint even against powerful men at their workplace. And seriously, all laws can be misused, and hundreds of people are falsely implicated in murder charges or in charges of financial irregularity. But if there is a woman involved, let's make life harder for her. That's our adorable MPs. So sweet. Now back to Homi. So the UP Legislative Assembly constituted a privileges committee. They found the article objectionable and recommended action against the editor. And the assembly approved of the committee's recommendations, and accordingly, the Speaker of the Assembly issued a warrant of arrest. That's crazy. So, can legislators put themselves before the rights of free citizens? And that's what Homi argued. That on account of being arrested and detained for a night, his fundamental rights were violated. Specifically, Article 19, which assures a person of the freedom of expression. But more importantly, Articles 22, Part 1 and 2 state that if a person is arrested, he must be informed of the reason of such arrest, be produced before a magistrate within 24 hours, and be given the opportunity to consult with and to be defended by a jurist of his or her own choice. But all these opportunities were denied to him. He was produced before the speaker and not before a magistrate, and more than 24 hours had passed without his open trial. But all these opportunities were denied to him. He was produced before the speaker and not before a magistrate, and more than 24 hours had passed without his open trial. Meanwhile, Anita's struggle carried on, and her company constituted an internal complaints committee but did not find any evidence of these sexual advances. But the absence of evidence doesn't change the truth. In Homi Mistry versus Shri Nafisul Hussain 1956, the court ruled that no parliamentary privilege could be enjoyed by violating a fundamental right. And this was just the start of the evolving jurisprudence on parliamentary privileges. And did Anita get justice? Nope. In July 2019, the High Court of Delhi in Anita Suresh versus Union of India, the court fined Anita Suresh rupees 50,000 on account of the absence of evidence, and in a swoop, penalizing a woman for filing a complaint. That's just sad. That rather than inspiring to believe in law, women are dissuaded. Nonetheless, sexual predators at the workplace don't feel too pleased. The fight is on. Finally, in 2015, Rajasthan became the first state to include an education qualification to be elected as a local representative. And that was just the start. Other states have made it mandatory to have a bathroom, not more than 2 children, amongst other exclusionary measures to people who have leprosy. Leprosy, it's the 21st century, and leprosy is curable. By the way, did you know that the only 2 vectors for leprosy are humans and armadillos? Yeah, that's what gets me going. Apart from constitutional politics, armadillos. Stout, brownish animals with strong curved claws and simple peg-like teeth. Yep. So today's takeaway is that members of parliament and legislative assemblies are keen to exclude a diversity of public representatives in local governments. If MLAs want educated representatives, why don't they start with themselves? Seriously. Second, that fundamental rights cannot in fact be trumped over parliamentary privileges. Yay. And third, POSH, a law to protect women from sexual harassment at the workplace, has an inbuilt suspicion of women's complaints. That is so not on. What is, though, is this very cool podcast More on local representatives and bathrooms in the next episode. I hope you like this show. If you have questions or comments, please send them in on Twitter, where I tweet at Fundamentally P, or on Instagram, The Longest Constitution. Until next time, this is me, Priya Mirza, signing out.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, Varun talks to co-founder and CEO of Yoga Bar, Suhasini Sampath. She shares the secrets behind making energy bars without preservatives. On Voices for Water, Karthik asks Dr. Bhakti Devi, founding president Water Resources Council, about water literacy in India. On Ek Chuski Finance, Priyanka explains the concept of a financial slam book. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh ponder over how the Indian armed forces can reduce the cost of pensions. And on Marathi Kirkiton, the Deshmukhs explore the works of the popular writer Ramchandra Chintaman Dere. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, please don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. And remember, you can always check us out on YouTube. We have a number of channels. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube to take a look at what those channels are. We're also doing a small listener survey to understand how you respond to our shows and the advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It really helps us build better shows for you and understand what you're looking for from advertising and what we can talk to advertisers about who you are. Please go to ivmpodcast.com/survey. It really would help us out. Thank you so much. And finally, would like to thank our sponsors for the network this week: SBI Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and Jupiter, a digital banking app. Thank you so much for making this possible.
You're the people pleaser, right?
Oh, yes.
Or then desperately seeking the one? Oh, wait, you're the one who doesn't think they're ever good enough.
Oh.
So much drama. And for what? Is it doing you any good? Listen to me. I'm Chetna, your favorite positive action coach. Yes, I'm the one who has been dropping all those truth bombs on every episode.
Oh, no.
And it's time you learn to say no to drama. That's also what my podcast is called. And a new episode is out every Monday and Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, as well as all major podcasting platforms.